Welcome to the podcast where we celebrate innovation for a happy planet. I am your host, Abigail Carroll. This week we're traveling to Kenya, Africa, where Anga Mbeyiya, a South African seaweed entrepreneur, co-founded her company, Ole Blue. Anga is transforming seaweed into biostimulants to help rural farmers who are struggling to adapt to climate change. While her company is still young, it's already having a big impact both socially and economically. They're buying seaweed from a woman-run cooperative seaweed farm, running demo farms themselves, and working with well over 400 small farmers to help improve their crop yields. Anga has big plans and shares her insights into the blue economy in Africa, as well as what it's like to be a female entrepreneur there. Let's hear it from Anga. Welcome to the podcast, Anga.
Thank you so much, Abigail. I'm so happy to be here.
So you are in the seaweed business. Your company is called Ole Blue. And what are you doing? Tell us what you're doing.
So Ole Blue is a company based in Kenya, where we're currently trying to process seaweed that's cultivated by cooperatives along the coastline in Kenya, where we turn it into biostimulants, or also known as organic fertilizers. So yeah, that is our claim to fame. I feel like the biggest problem, or actually the biggest opportunity in Kenya, is that Kenya is one of the biggest agricultural countries in the African continent. They're big producers of coffees and teas and a lot of vegetables and flowers. So when you look at what's happening with climate change and droughts and how that's affecting the agricultural farmer, and looking at the opportunity of seaweed that can be turned into biostimulants that actually help soil health and can help crop yield, you have to try merge the two together to come up with something great. So I think that was the vision behind Ole Blue. A lot of reading, a lot of research, actually seeing what's happening on the ground and seeing where the opportunities lie.
So can you tell me a little bit more about some of the problems that the Kenyan farmers are having today with respect to climate change?
So some of the major problems are lack of crop yield. So crop yield has decreased. And then secondly, also not being too sure of the seasons to farm, because it's been hot throughout the year. So the seasons have shifted a bit. So I think some of the conversations is you'll even hear from the locals is like certain areas don't produce as much as they used to. They're like, oh, when I was a kid, I didn't even have to buy this fruit. Now we buy it because it was so excessive. It was so abundant.
Right. What was the standard product that farmers were using to farm and accelerate their yields?
So a lot of farmers, it's accessibility firstly. So whatever in the market, and that's something that's affordable. So those are the two characteristics I think that will influence the farmer's choice. So I think that's the first thing we also have to think about as Ole Blues, making our product accessible and affordable, and obviously it working well as well, and people seeing the benefits of it. So a lot of farmers are using a lot of chemical fertilizers, and that's because it's just more accessible. Mm-hmm. Kenya is doing a lot of work around climate change and education. So there are a lot of stakeholders in different sectors that are really putting in work around educating farmers about making better decisions with their quality inputs. And there's also a lot of startups around the farming industry in Kenya as well, where they're being invested in to tick off these boxes that are major concerns. Yeah. So yeah, I would say definitely as a startup founder, speaking to other founders in the industry, we're seeing a lot of support around making sure those boxes are ticked.
So your product is seaweed based, but you're not growing the seaweed. You're working with these cooperatives. Tell me a little bit about the cooperatives and their role on the Kenyan coast.
So at Ole Blue, we've decided to work with cooperatives and actually work with the existing seaweed farmers already in the country. So basically, there is a cooperative they're currently working with in Kibuyuni, where they have over 105 members, 75% being women. And it's woman-led, and it's It's an amazing organization that has been really supported also by government and other organizations. So that's who we're currently working with now, and they farm two types of species of red seaweed, known as spinosum and cotoni. And those are the products that they turn some products into, like lotions and soaps. And also, they sell the product raw to customers like us.
So is seaweed a, 95% of the world's seaweed's coming from Asia. Is seaweed a traditional crop in Kenya, or is this something new and part of this sort of global movement in the blue economy?
So seaweed started, I'd say, mainly in Tanzania, so next door to Kenya, the neighbors. And we have like pioneers, people that are amazing, like Dr. Flower, who've really paved the way for the seaweed industry in East Africa. And I think she's one of the pioneers that even helped with setting it up in Kenya and collaborating with seaweed research students and partners in Kenya to start the initiative around 2001. Specifically, now I'm talking about the cooperative we work with. They started in 2001. So I think it's fairly new, but I love the fact that it's very East African united. So there's a lot of good affiliations between the two countries around seaweed.
Nice. And you actually are South African, and you had initially thought maybe you would do this in South Africa, where there is an existing seaweed industry. Tell me why you opted out of doing this in your home country, but ended up working in Kenya.
The opportunity for Kenya actually came about through an incubator I was part of called Teka through BFA
Mhm.
Global. So I was working with them, and they introduced me to the climate scene in Kenya. And also, I think there's just more impact when I think about how many lives you can touch compared to South Africa currently. The South African landscape in the seaweed industry is very, very commercialized. I'd say like there's like the big three, and it's very commercialized, and there's just higher barriers to entry. It's very expensive to start, but definitely in Kenya, I feel like there was more collaborative and NGO scale of working together to actually scale up impact more.
So, your how do you see your role in Kenya, in this emerging blue economy?
I see myself and the company Ole Blue as connecting dots and really being the bridge between your smallholder farmer to your big companies that are commercial, and how we can bridge the gap. We're also trying to be a voice for farmers, and just, yeah, working all together. I think the seaweed industry is very um, still small. So what's nice about being small is that people are still very working collaborative all together. So that's what's great. So about the industry, and that's what I think we're trying to do in Kenya as well.
Yeah. Are the farmers receptive to your product?
So in Kenya, we've set up two demo farms currently, and we are working with about over like 8 crops. So from your coffees, your maize, your cassavas, your tomatoes, we do before and after trials, so farmers can see and new customers can see the difference between the two, and also we show them soil test results of the difference of the soil as well. So people become receptive when they see, and that's what we're currently working on now. So a lot of R&D and marketing and word of mouth is what we're relying on now.
Yeah. What's your timeline? So you're in these sort of early stages of demos. When do you hope that farmers will start buying your product and you'll start becoming the standard the standard biostimulant?
The timeline, I think the next 2 years, it would be really nice to see it more commercialized and say in commercial farms. But for now, I think this year is connecting with all the smaller brands, NGOs, and seeing how that works. Like currently now, I think we're working with like 400 farmers soon. So that is a
Oh,
nice number
okay.
to just, yeah, that's a nice number to see how the product works with. We'll see how it goes throughout the year.
Yeah. But they're generally receptive to trying new things. If
Definitely. Yeah, I think there is definitely, they are receptive. And also, I think it's how you package it as well and how you promote your product and, yeah, speak the same language as the farmers.
right. Speaking of speaking the same language, is it are you fully, I mean, do people in Africa just move around country to country like you might in Europe? Or is it an anomaly that someone from South Africa would show up in Kenya and start a business?
Um, so a lot of my like colleagues have worked in the industry doing research in East Africa. But I don't think businesses, setting up businesses. But people in Kenya have been super welcoming. My co-founder is Kenyan. So I'm not
Yeah.
like just a South African all alone there. But I do have a founder, Derek, who's based in Kenya, and we work together. So it's a good balance because also we're not only thinking Kenya, we are wanting to tap into other countries across African coastline. So it's good that our team is diverse like this so we can expand to other countries soon.
Are there different types of native seaweeds along the coast that you would work with, or would you continue to work with these same species? Are these the sort of abundant species that sort of pan the coast?
Yeah, I think currently now we just focusing on now the red seaweeds because that's where most of our
Yeah.
research is going into. But
Yeah.
I think, yeah, with time we'll definitely play around with other species across the African coastline. But I think we'll
Yeah.
focus on tropical waters definitely.
So, what got you into seaweed?
Um, Education. I think I got an opportunity to study abroad through a scholarship, and I went to Gothenburg University, and I was exposed to the seaweed industry there, and I had no idea. Coming from South Africa, I've obviously been a big swimmer in maritime. I've been in the maritime industry, but I never knew how amazing seaweed was, and the possibilities were so endless with it. So when I came back to South Africa, I was like, I have to work towards something. I know so much now. I can't get let this go to waste. And I just started pitching ideas, started like going to these incubators, like these 1 day accelerator, 2 day accelerators. And yeah, the rest is history. Basically, I just joined an incubator and now I've been staying in Kenya. So I think this all happened in the space of 3 years, 4 years. Yeah.
We'll be right back after a word from our sponsors. I'd like to thank Gulf of Maine Research Institute and Bold Ocean Ventures for their support of Happy Planet podcast. GMRI and Bold Ocean Ventures have partnered to create a mission-driven venture capital fund supporting the growth of innovative, sustainable, ocean-related businesses. Listeners may remember Patrick Breeding, who was on our show last year to talk about Marin Skincare and its clinically proven formula that uses glycoproteins from Maine lobsters to treat eczema and dry, damaged skin. This company has since become wildly successful with their lobster lotion, and Patrick is inviting listeners to a 20% discount on their products by using the coupon code HAPPYPLANET on their website, Marin Skincare. I actually use this product myself, and I highly recommend it. For a blue economy to thrive, people need to use more sustainable products. But which products? And will consumers actually adopt them? Innovators like you are hustling to figure this out. Spark number 9 can tell you if there's demand for your product. Spark markets your product before it's built using online advertising so you launch smarter. Have a big idea? Vet it with Spark before you build. Visit Spark online at www.sparkno9.com or find them on LinkedIn. Hey, and I want to give a quick shout out to all of the blue economy folks out there. Do not miss the Ocean Innovation Festival on June 19th and 20th in The Hague, Netherlands. Join over 450 global innovators, investors, and experts transforming the blue economy for a healthier ocean. For more information, visit their website, oceaninnovation.live. Welcome back to the podcast. I know you're in an incubator right now with Harry Wright at Bright Tide, and it sounds like you've done a bunch of them. Can you dive in a little bit to the role of the incubator in a startup like yours?
So an incubator actually goes with your progress as a startup. So like my initial startup was just maybe it's a 1 day incubator, 2 day incubator where it's just like ideation and they just get a bunch of people in a room and you just come up with ideas within the industry. And then you get incubators like Bright Tide, which are much longer and more intense. And some companies are in a different stages, but they might be similar. So that is a more, I'd say, accelerated accelerator. And
Yeah.
Bright Tide just introduces you to key stakeholders in the industry to really fine tune and help your business so that you are capital ready, investment ready to actually meet other investors and scale your business. So that's what they're really trying to do, making us basically ready to get the much needed funds we need to scale up our companies.
Yeah. It seems like, especially in the blue economy, these accelerators have become par for the course. How do you feel like investors react? Are they looking for people who have gone through accelerators? Is this becoming sort of a necessary step in a startup's journey, do you think?
It's not necessary. I do have other like people who are maybe much older and have been in the industry much longer. They necessarily don't need to go through accelerators because maybe they've been founders before or business people before, but now they're just trying a seaweed industry. But I think accelerators for me are important because you kind of connect the dots in the industry of what mandates are needed between these different types of organizations and how can you fit in with your company and if it's aligned. And that's what's nice about these
Yeah.
accelerators, that you just really connect the dots about who's trying to do what and how can we help each other halfway.
Yeah. So, are you investor ready?
Definitely, I am investor ready. I'm currently also working with Scoby Collective. Those are one of my co-founders, which is great, and they based in all over the world. So yeah, I'm definitely investment ready, and yeah, we are pitching and applying.
How big do you want to scale this?
If currently in Africa there are 13 countries that are participating in seaweed, and if Ole Blue could be in at least 6 countries that are working with red seaweeds, that would be amazing. Where we can set
Yeah.
up these processing plants and really help and share information that we have currently done in Kenya to other similar regions like Tanzania or Mozambique also has a tropical water. So yeah, those are some of the countries that we are thinking about in the near future.
So, in Maine, where I live, it's very hard to find labor, and it really gets in the way. It's a major hindrance to a lot of startups that are labor intensive like yours. What does the labor pool look like in Kenya?
Because our business model is working with cooperatives, the labor is already existing and
Yeah.
it's already there. So what we just are doing is basically making infrastructure available for these cooperatives to create value add to that cultivated seaweed. So we're trying to just create value
Yeah.
addition more than anything.
And do you want to stop with these biostimulants, or are you interested in other commercial products? with seaweed?
I'm definitely interested. We're definitely interested in the whole agricultural space of seaweed and looking up into also maybe um, feed, animal feed. We've seen the methane study in Australia. So it would be interesting to see how that would work in Kenya as well. So those are some of the stuff we're looking at as well. So anything in agriculture
Yeah.
with seaweed, we would definitely interested in.
As a Kenyan company, where do you look for funds? Do you look for funds locally in Kenya, or do you reach out to people beyond the borders? Like, how does that work?
A lot of the funding that we've received, or the funding we've received prior, is coming internationally. So most of it comes internationally, but can be funneled through maybe Kenyan based operating companies. So just the branch of the bigger company. So yeah, it's a bit of both, definitely.
Yeah. Interesting. And is Kenya doing sort of, do they have grants? I mean, is there a supportive ecosystem for entrepreneurship in the blue economy in Kenya?
Yes, it's definitely there. It's definitely growing. There's a lot of like events that they do, like pop up events and newsletters that are shared on websites for companies in the industry.
And is there money? Do they make money available?
Not enough, but yeah, this it's growing.
It's never enough, right?
No,
So what about being a woman entrepreneur in Kenya? What's that road like?
it's interesting. I think also being a South African, I think I'm struggling a bit, obviously, with the language, but it's something I can pick up. It's not too far from Xhosa. It's also a Bantu language, so that's what's nice. But it's I definitely think you need to have sometimes a man in the room with you to just reiterate what you've just said in the room. Because I feel like sometimes
That's funny.
they want it echoed by a man. um, but other than that, it's an amazing landscape. I think people give me great opportunity as well. Being a South African, I've been welcomed very well.
That was hilarious. Um, so you're in the blue economy. Your products are really geared to fighting climate change. Are you optimistic about our ability to stay ahead of climate pressures?
I am definitely optimistic, but I just really wish there's less conferences and all these talking events and just more work being done. That would be more exciting.
Yeah.
I feel sometimes, yeah, there's just too many meetings and we're saying the same things and not enough work on the ground being done.
And a lot of carbon being emitted into the sky with people flying all over the
I
planet to go
know.
to these conferences.
I know. And I definitely understand
It's
it's very much needed because it is still fairly a growing industry. Um, so we need the voices and the the publicity, I guess. But yeah, we also need to do the physical labor
just do
and
the work.
do the
Yeah.
work. Mm.
In the last 4 months here in Maine, in New England, we've had four massive storms that have tested our coastline, really tested it. Roads were dug up by waves. A house not too far just sunk into the water. Um, are you feeling that level of shifting on your coastlines?
Yes, definitely. There's a big shift. Our demo farm is not doing well, and seeing that and not even being a farmer, being my main source of income is obviously worrying because now you think about people that actually live off this. And if our farm is struggling this much, imagine families that live off that. So it's very worrying how much heat, how hot it can get, and how dry it can get, and not having rain, and there's no access to water, and how much that can damage your whole savings worth of money on your farm. So I think there'll be a lot of I think opportunities for stuff like insurance, insuring these farmers, and also the seaweed. The water is getting extremely hot, and those seaweed farmers also need insurance and for their products.
Wow.
So there's
Yeah.
definitely a big shift. People can see it, and the community members speak about it as well. So yeah, definitely.
So you are in the middle of your entrepreneurial journey, but you probably have taken enough knocks by now and you've had enough pivots. It's been challenging enough, and you have 400 farmers, so you've got some success under your belt too. Do you have any advice for entrepreneurs today?
Don't give up. Don't give up. Always feel that when it's at the hardest, that's where some victory or some light always shines. It's very tough, but also just speak to people. People are always willing to help. Actually, there are so many people willing to help entrepreneurs, and people must just don't be shy to reach out. Don't be shy to reach out and don't give up. That's my two advice points.
Thank you, Anga, for coming on the show. If you'd like to learn more about Ole Blue or Anga, we have provided the contact information in our show notes. Thank you once again for listening. Please follow Happy Planet wherever you tune in and leave us a rating and review. It really does help new listeners discover the show. Happy Planet was reported and hosted by me, Abigail Carroll. I'm also the executive producer. Composer George Brendel Egloff created our theme music. Learn more about my work and get in touch by visiting happyplanetpodcast.com.